Hey, what's up, 745ers, the sky and the ceiling? How you feeling, Katie?
I'm feeling jubilant.
Jubilant. Oh my God.
And you?
I'm feeling stupendous.
Okay. So
Spectacular.
copycat.
Okay. Welcome back to the 745 Teen Mental Health Podcast. Today's topic is
Drumroll, please. Oh, you already hit that. Peer pressure.
peer pressure.
And then we'll do a little drip of placebo effect.
Yes. So peer pressure, in my opinion, is a neutral term. So it could be it could be good, but it also can be bad. I feel like most times it's like associated like negatively,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like in most cases it is
negative,
bad, but like
but
sometimes
it can be good.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Yes.
Have you ever been peer pressured?
Most definitely.
Okay, well, do tell. I think so too, and I think you go first.
The most obvious one for me is like theme parks, like Disneyland and Universal.
Really? I wasn't expecting that. What does that mean? Like what?
Well, like I used to not be a fan of like roller coasters, and like I'm like more okay. I'm not like one of those people who are like I love roller coasters, right? But like I'm like sort of slowly but surely like getting past the fear, but like sort of just like my friends are just like, yeah, you're coming on this ride. Like, you gotta come on this ride.
But isn't that that's a good peer pressure then?
Yeah, that's a good peer pressure.
I think like I know that I would be peer pressured if like we were all in a crowd and so, like if we were all listening to a speaker and they were like, I need one person to come here, and then everyone started screaming like Katie, 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 then I just have to go up and just walk in and face the fear. But a time I've actually been peer pressured, one time that sits very deep in my mind was when they were playing that game. I didn't feel pressure myself, but I saw people getting peer pressured.
Yeah.
And that was something I was a witness to, and I was also indifferent to. My bad. And that's like a time that you don't want to be pressured into playing a game that you don't want to play.
Yeah, no. I think like, I feel like that's most typical
peer pressure.
And just for our viewers, it wasn't like a game with like any substances.
No, it was we were in 6th grade.
Yeah.
Like it's like it's not very deep, but like that's just like a time where like I think the most formative time for most people is in middle school and high school. Obviously you're a teenager then, and I think the peer pressuring, like the silly peer pressuring, happens a lot in middle school, and like the more serious, dangerous ones could happen in high school. But again, some of it can be good, and because it's the most formative years of your life, I think it's important that you get over things.
Yeah, I think so. Like also, like, I mean, a big part of peer pressure is sort of like wanting to like you don't want to look like you don't want to like seem like you're like a wuss. And also like I feel like a big part for me is just like I feel like it's just gonna be held over my head for like a while, but like I think it's like super important. It, like teaches you a lot about like what you like value, and like what your like morals are sort of as a human.
Yeah. I wouldn't call it like self-control. I want to use that word, but it's not even self-control. It's just like how firm are you? Willpower. Yeah, your willpower. Can you just deny, and so like because you don't need to please somebody and you don't need the attention and you know what your values are and you just want to stick with that. Can you do that? And I think it's a great test to be put under, and I think it's very like it helps you grow, and it's very important. I agree. It also teaches you like who your friends are. Yeah. Like not like yes, specifically like who your friends are, like who's looking out for you, who's not, but also like what type of people they are. Yeah. Like are they the type of person who do they want to go on the roller coaster alone? They're probably scared. Are they going to peer pressure you, or are they going to be like, listen, I'm scared, but like I'd like really appreciate if you came on. Yeah, let's be scared together. Yeah, instead of just like. Yeah. Yeah. Also, like, hot take, maybe medium take. True friends wouldn't peer pressure you if it's like a really serious thing and you really don't want to do it. Like I think I wrote this down. I think giving suggestions or giving opinions and being like, could you do this? Like, can you do it like a few times? Is fine. I think it's just an issue when you're like, okay, let's just all hate on this person because they're not doing it, or like let's just like embarrass them. And like there's like if you're a peer pressured you're not a peer pressuree, and you're doing the peer pressuring, I think like you know there's a point to stop. Yeah, there's definitely a point to stop, and there's also like I think it's okay to like you want to like sort of express like you like sometimes as like a peer pressure, like you know the outcome and you're like you just like want this for your friend or whatever.
Yeah.
But like I think there's also like comes to a point where like it's like if they don't want to, you gotta like respect that like opinion, and sort of just like even if it's like peer pressuring them to go to the gym, like you know it'd have like a positive outcome, but they just don't want to. I think it's just you gotta say, well, that's like
I respect your decision.
I respect your decision.
Yeah.
You're lost, but like, hey.
Yeah, we just want to put it out there, and I think that's important. Mm-hmm. Have you ever been the peer pressurer? Because I just want to say I have.
Yeah, I think I have. I can't think of like a specific example.
I'll give you a specific example.
Of me?
No, I have one where I was peer pressure.
Okay, let me hear.
Okay, well, peer pressure, humans are humans, what can you do? Might be. And it's actually not even that serious, but I know, even if it's like subconsciously, I know that the words I choose are peer pressure like. When I go shopping with it is, we're both peer pressuring each other because nobody wants to be the one to spend more money. And so we're both like, you should buy that, even though I don't know if you should always, like, it's like one of those things that like you don't need, but like I'll be like, no, like you need to get it, like you need to get it, like how could you not get it? And that's like a nicer form of peer pressure, and that's when I peer pressure people. But I've always been one to be like, for more serious topics like substances and drugs and stuff and drinking, whatever, that I think for those situations I can be like, for example, it's very indifferent. That game we were playing, we'll cut out the name, whatever. But I think that for like one of those more serious topics, I wouldn't be indifferent, and I would stand up for the peer pressured person.
Yeah. Boom. Okay, guys, we're back.
Location
switch up.
It was so hot, guys. You have no idea.
It was pretty hot.
We were talking about peer pressuring.
Peer pressure.
And when I've been the peer pressurer.
Yeah. Let's see.
How do you combat peer pressure, would you say?
How? I think that's a really difficult question.
I know, it's so hard.
Because, like, there's no, like, steps you can take. It's sort of one of those things where you just gotta, like, do it.
Would you say it's a mindset?
It is definitely a mindset.
I think it's a mindset of, okay, well, first of all, you do things that you don't want to do in order to please somebody because either you don't want them to get mad at you, therefore you're trying to please somebody, you want attention, or you're too scared to just say no. Those kind of all fall under the same umbrella. And I think willpower is something you need. Also, like, understanding the fact that, like, first of all, they're not true friends if they're gonna be mad at you for not doing something.
Yeah, I think like true friends are just like accepting of what you want to do.
Yeah, and they'll respect your decision and anything about you. And then also, like, if you don't want to do something, literally don't do it. This is like a free will.
Yeah, I love telling my friends, like, free will core.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think like you could like go into like any sidewalk and lick the floor.
Yeah.
It's like you would never, but like it's not like impossible.
I constantly think about how I could just chuck my phone.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I can do that.
Exactly. And so like you never have to do anything.
Yeah.
Like if your friend is like, oh, like you have to do this, like if you don't do this, if this, like nothing is for certain.
Yeah. And don't be gaslit if they say like, oh, if you don't do this, you're not a true friend. Like, no, stand up for yourself. That's not what a true friend is.
You could flip it on them like, who are you to tell me what a true friend is? You're not being a true friend right now.
There you go. And I think for teenagers it's really easy, especially like all like the drinking and the partying and stuff like that. If you don't want to do it,
don't do it.
Don't do it. It's not even good for you at any like.
And like another thing with peer pressure, especially like with that, is like don't put yourself in like an environment where like you like know or you might think you're gonna get peer pressure.
Yeah.
If you don't like want to be.
You can also like be proactive about it, and there's steps you can take, because okay, think about it, we always talk about this like circle, the lotus of control, whatever. There's some things that are not in your control, because if they're gonna peer pressure you, they're gonna peer pressure you, but at the same time, you don't have to listen to the peer pressuring or even put yourself in those situations where you could get peer pressured.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what you have control over. I'll say like in our friend group, in our area, I think we have a really good friend group where like nobody is doing that to each other. And like even though people might like be like, oh, like we would love for you to XYZ with us, like you don't have to if you don't want to.
Yeah I think like also because like just as easy as it is to peer pressure someone, it's just as easy to call them out on it.
Yeah.
And like you could like a lot of times I think like it's just like the difference between like someone like who's like susceptible to peer pressure and someone who like sort of can like free will it and like
and just like
has like a lots of willpower is just like their sort of like vulnerability and like sort of just like self-reassurance, because like I mean like it's like that's why it's like easiest to like pick on like the lowest
when the most vulnerable. But like as you were saying, it just as easy it is to be like, bro, like if you're gonna do your bad friend, you can also be like, no dude, don't peer pressure that person into doing that if they don't want to do it. And 2 beats 1 like majority of the time. And so just like standing up for people. So if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, like I'm not into that, I have a lot of willpower, I've never been peer pressured, and I don't plan on ever being peer pressured, be the person who stands up for the peer pressure.
I agree. Help the
vulnerable.
Help those.
That's a good friend.
I agree.
That's a good friend.
Yeah, I think like because it's like almost like a checkmate in itself getting peer pressured, because like it's really scary because one, it's like on the spot. Like you're not like,
and you don't accept it.
And it's like you don't know how they're gonna react. If you do, if you don't, it's like there's so many things that like sort of just like come into it. And so you just
and there's so many unknowns, and I can imagine, and I know I can feel like what it would be like to be peer pressured, and like you're just like sweaty, your face is getting hot, and like you don't know what to do, and you're like scared that someone won't be friends with you anymore, and you feel like there's nothing you can do to control the situation. But I also think that like if you show like some sort of willpower, you'd be even respected even more for like being like, no, I don't want to do that, and in fact you guys are not that cool for doing that, and it doesn't bother me. Like that type of nonchalance where like you don't care and it doesn't bother you is pretty powerful, I think.
I agree. I think like it's really, I think like the quote unquote like cool people in like schools are just the ones who can like, it's not like what they wear or not like, you know,
what car they drive.
It's just like, are they a follower or a leader? And so like if they're like even if they're like controversial or like people don't even believe in they're a leader, like people will just recognize that they're like self-dependent and like a strong person,
and they're independent, and they don't just get swayed by whoever like
they have a brain of their own.
Exactly.
And so I think that's like a big part about like, I mean, it's almost like a wake-up call. Peer pressure is almost like a wake-up call in the sense where it's like you gotta like really develop your own like opinions and like ideas of like what you want to do and who you are, and
lock in. I mean, Zach and I always talk about how like we would like to be one of the people that isn't just like hearing things and letting it like be who we are, and that's how we form our opinions. You want to be your own person who can stand up for yourself, be independent, and just like people will respect that even more if you are strong in your ways. And also like you're not a true leader if you're forcing somebody to be a follower.
I read in a book by John C. Maxwell, 21 Laws of Leadership, that the relationship between leaders and followers is leaders lead by example. And so then followers will like continue to follow. And so it's like the followers keep the leaders in check because the leaders got to lead by example. And so if the leaders aren't leading by example, then they're going to lose their followers, you know? And so it's just like a big circle. And so I think like, I really think about that a lot, because like, I think like, sometimes I think like, oh, what if there's like a follower watching, potential follower? And I guess like for me, follower, I guess means like friend or like connection.
Or somebody who just like respects and like wants to be someone, looks up to you.
And so like in those moments where I really think that, I really try and do my best.
Also like I think like one of the things I put for peer pressure, it's like I think about like if I ever were to get peer pressure for something more serious, I think about like my brother, and I think about like little kids I teach at church, and like you have to set a good example and like stand up for yourself, and they will be more empowered to stand up for themselves too.
Do you want to talk about placebo?
I think about placebo effect every single day of my life, and in fact I try to placebo effect people because okay, let me explain to you what happened. So I gave somebody a glass of water. I was like, it's so salty, and they were like, yeah, it's so salty, but it wasn't salty. And this is like just like my like test. I did it to a random person. I don't even know who this is, but like it's just like a random person I saw at church camp,
And that was just like my example to like remember that placebo effect is a thing. If you don't know what placebo is, it's kind of like groupthink, not really.
It's more like gaslighting someone else or yourself into thinking something that's not actually happening or true.
Yeah. And it can happen subconsciously and unconsciously, like that, like you just don't even know.
Like typically it's related to things like physically, like medically, or like, but like, well, because there was like a study done where it's like they gave, I think it was like, I forgot what illness it was, but they gave them fake medicine, but they didn't tell that to the person, obviously, and then they started getting better.
But then in the more like Urban Dictionary definition, placebo effect can also be used for drinking situations in which you think you are intoxicated when you're not.
Oh yeah, that too.
And I think about placebo because I always think about just like, it's part of also the peer pressure thing where you want to show that you're like in that group where you do that thing too, and that you're like just like you have a reason to just not be in the right mind space. But I think placebo effect is it's like a dangerous thing, but it's also a very powerful thing.
I agree.
Because if you can placebo effect everyone into believing something you said, that's a lot of power.
Yeah.
And I think it stands for a bigger thing in like gaslighting, or just like that's how like dictators eat it up.
Yeah.
Like they placebo effect everyone.
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean, for me, I also think about placebo a lot, but I think about it like I do it more like conditionally. Like situation flip, it's not necessarily like placebo, but it is like it's rearranging and like sort of almost like lying to myself about things. Like what do you call it? Like, oh yeah, I have this like volunteer job at Cedars, and so it is like kind of strenuous, and like sometimes like it's boring and it's like stressful at the same time because like you're just waiting. Like I'm at like the call center, so like the patient calls, but like I don't know when they're calling, so I just have to stare at this phone and wait for a ring, and it's pretty stressful because sometimes they're a little grumpy, but I don't blame them. And so so like I just think like heading into it, I'm like, you know what, like I'm gonna have like a really good time, you know, you're gonna do a great job, and like just like telling myself I'm gonna do a good job like just automatically lifts my mood. And just like also just like the other example I was gonna say is like I take plenty of cold showers and cold plunges and whatnot, and I just like I'm like, it's not cold, I'm not cold right now. Same with like on a run, like I'm not tired. I'm not tired.
Placebo effect also is just like it's just funny to me because like so many like dietary things, I'm not talking about your cool shop, but it remind me of things like some of these supplement gummies from celebrities and stuff, like people believe they just work because like they just say they work, and like then you really believe it, and they really believe it. And like there's like certain like at Whole Foods I see like these certain like drinks you can drink and all these things, and because like one person who's like fit drank and was like, look at this happened to me, then you're like, oh yeah, it'll happen to me too. And I think it's really funny how easily convinced the brain is that something will happen to you just because you're told that it can happen to you, and then you like convince yourself, even if it's like, for example, one time I believed that like this like drink was supposed to make me like not have a sore throat anymore, and I still felt my sore throat, but I was like, no, it's going away slowly, I can feel it, but I got sicker. So I just like find that really interesting.
I think it's also like really interesting because a big part of it is like visualization. Like, you know how like sometimes you wake up from a dream and you're like, oh my god, that felt so real. So like you can like, you don't have to be like dreaming to do it. So like you just gotta like really like concentrate on what you're like thinking about, and like you will like genuinely feel like the change. Like,
I agree.
Like if you visualize yourself like you're cold right now. Okay, let's try something. Okay. It's like, it's evening, right? You're sitting by a warm fireplace, you know, you can hear the fire crackling, your hands are placed in front of the fire, you know, you're cozied up with a blanket, it's night outside, but you're very warm and cozy, and you're starting to feel sleepy, and you can slowly feel your eyes closing, and you feel the heat from the fire pressed upon you, and just as you go deeper and deeper into sleep, you start warming up, and like, I mean, that was my Katie rendition of like how you would convince yourself, but like, could you imagine yourself getting warmer?
If I placebo effect, I would say yes, but I just feel the same level
You just
of
feel,
cold.
I feel warmer.
really.
You really gotta like get into it.
Well, like I don't think I thought about it deeply enough. But as you were doing it, I was thinking like, what if I just said like I felt warmer when I didn't?
I mean, like
because in a way, it's also peer pressure that you like. If your friend recommends something to you, and then you're just like, yes, I felt that way, or like that like changed something for me, but it didn't, and you just want to help them out.
Yeah, I think
I don't do that to you or. I think I've done that to like. But
yeah,
coincides.
Also, like just agreeing with your friends constantly because you're afraid that like,
oh my
hi
god, there's a squirrel guy so close to us. No, please don't get rid of Roof.
Can we like flip it? Wait, guys, look at this.
Wildlife spot. No, you can't flip it. You have to turn it.
Please don't jump at me.
Okay.
And then look at that dog.
Look how many pigeons are behind us. Wait, give me the phone. Wait, guys, look at that. Wait, you have to do it horizontally. Think behind us. Correctly? No. Give me. Look, guys, you see those pigeons over there? They've all been hanging out with us. Anyways, guys. That's kind of our epi.
Yeah, that's the epi
Hope
outdoor.
We haven't had one in a long time, and yeah, don't be peer pressured. Try not to be the peer pressure, unless it's like for something good, I guess. And humans are humans. What can you do? Like people make mistakes all the time. Do the best you can.
And if you have gone too far with peer pressuring or whatever, it's always okay to apologize.
Yeah, don't be scared to apologize.
Yeah.
Okay, fire. Keep on keeping on.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.